Oh dear. Okay, so I do think we're live now. We're on live for 10 seconds already. Folks, we've had some technical difficulties, but James and I were just going to roll with it. This is Mac McCullough, your host at Stories at Sundown here at Willard Library, where it's always sunset. That joke never gets old. But I'm here today with James Jr. Smith. And we just established before that if you didn't know now, everybody knows now. But I didn't know it, so I looked up his photo in the yearbook.
Yeah.
Class of 1969, Battle Creek Central. And if you have any technical issues, it's on our end because I see a little bit of delay and I don't know what's going on with the network. But we're going to do the best we can. James stopped by the other last week or 2 weeks ago and was telling me about his new book, The Healing Garden. A father and son's relationship reestablished. What number of book is this for you?
This is the ninth
book.
Mm-hmm.
And some of you may remember we had him on in the past. The title was Sunk by the Navy.
Yes.
About his experience in fictionalized, but your experience in the Navy, what you experienced firsthand.
Yeah. Well, that one was Patriot to Traitor.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Patriot to Traitor. Yeah, that was fiction.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, I got him confused. I'm sorry.
That's okay. No
But
problem.
it was Navy.
It was Navy.
It was both.
That's
Okay.
why I'm here to keep you straight.
That's right.
Okay.
And you always have, haven't you? So, and we got to talking about that, but let's tell them a little bit of a project that I'm working on with some history folks. I'm very active with the Historical Society. We do some stuff with the Regional History Museum. They have a great musical exhibit that's coming up. They just did something on Del Shannon not too long ago, and they have something else in June. And we're planning for a concert, not a concert, but a history program with some music, some old folks and some young talent. And I'm working on that with Vanya Ward. But we got to talking about the old days, and James was the lead singer, the front man for the band known as the Topics,
Mm-hmm.
and played in El Grotto and Gilbert's Lounge, which had been the High-Low Club before, right?
Well, I don't know. All I know it is the Gilbert's Lounge.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was because this man Gilbert, who was an Italian immigrant, came from
Mhm.
Chicago and bought the LaSalle, and had the high-low when Del Shannon was playing there. And
Oh, okay.
then he remodeled it as Gilbert's Lounge.
Okay.
And if I got my history wrong there, someone else will set me straight. Okay?
Yeah.
That's what we're all about. So I wanted to do a little twofer here and just talk a little bit about your musical career, your dreams of stardom, and
Okay.
they may not have gotten quite as far as you'd hoped.
No.
But you got to rub elbows with some folks.
Yeah. Yeah. First of all, I'd like to mention the members of the group that were
Yes.
besides myself, because it wasn't just me.
Uh,
It was myself, Ricky Brown, Murado Woods, Stanley Rice, and Alvin Holmes. And together we were the Topics. And we didn't achieve a lot of fame, but it was fun.
yeah.
It was fun. And one thing about Battle Creek and entertainment, if you are not good, they will let you know. Because when you perform at the El Grotto, it was like the Apollo in New York.
Uh-huh.
In respect of the audience was very astute about talent.
Uh-huh.
And they knew if you were just faking it to make it. They knew. And they would let you know. They would let you know.
And how so?
Well, in very colorful language,
Yeah.
they would let you know that perhaps you should be doing something else other than trying to sing.
Uh-huh. But you didn't have that experience.
No, I was okay. I mean, there were nights, some ladies would share their undergarments up on stage at us. One time I got hit in the eye with a quarter because they were throwing money.
Oh, wow.
And the quarter hit me in the eye, and I'm still trying to sing, and the eye is watering, hurting, stinging. But you push through it.
Yeah, yeah. So tell us a little bit about what it was like. I mean, you were what, 18,
Yeah,
19,
yeah.
something
I was
like
like
that?
18-year-old kid, and the way uh, I got started was I was in the Bearcat room. I'm just singing along with the music at the time because we used to play music in what was the Bearcat room. Now that's no longer a thing, and somebody overheard me and asked me, what I thought about singing with some people, and I said, okay, you know, and that was like Alvin Holmes, So he said, well, come by my house and let's see what you can do, what you got. So I went by his house, and the other guys were there, Morado Woods and Stanley Rice, and Ricky Brown.
Mm-hmm.
And so I guess basically auditioned, I guess, and they liked what they heard, and we decided to do this together. And we went around the different clubs here in Battle Creek, which was the El Grotto, Bellman and Waiters,
Mm-hmm.
and the Gilbert's Lounge.
Yeah.
And one account that stands out to me is one night at the Gilbert's Lounge, we were going up on stage, and we were going to sing the Delphonics, "La La Means I Love You," and I was singing the lead. So we're walking up on stage, and the guy grabs me by the arm, And I looked at this guy, he's got a bulge in his pocket, and I know it's not Kleenex. So he asked me, he said, so what you getting ready to sing? I said, we're getting ready to sing La La Means I Love You by the Delphonics. He said, all right, better be good. Now this is a grown man. I'm a kid. I'm 18 years old. I'm scared to death. And I'm up there, we get up there on stage, and we're adjusting our microphones. I look back at the guys, I said, look, man, y'all better harmonize like you never have, okay? They said, okay, we got this. I said, okay. So we did the song, and we're walking off the stage, and the guy grabbed me again by the arm. He said, hey. I said, yeah? That was good. I said, thank you.
Well, it had to be intimidating.
Oh,
Because,
yeah, very,
I mean,
very.
you mentioned it. It was the corner, but it was bloody corners.
Yeah, they used to call it Bucket of Blood.
Yeah.
The El Grau. And Miss Helen, she could see that we were young, and we were intimidated. We were scared.
Yeah.
And she had a meat cleaver that she had in her hand, and she'd stand there holding it like this. She said, "Don't worry, babies, ain't nobody gonna mess with y'all." And we say, "Yes, Miss Helen."
That's actually a great story. And the thing that I'm kind of fascinated about is what, it was such fertile ground. I mean, talk a little bit. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
Everybody knows about Junior Walker. Everybody knows about, well, maybe not everybody knows about it, because actually I talk to people all the time that don't know anything about it. What was it about the scene here that attracted musicians of that caliber, and talk about any that you've met or you saw there?
Well, there was a lot of talent in Battle Creek. There always has been.
And there still is.
Yeah,
That's
and
one
there
of the
still
points,
is.
Yeah.
There always has been. But back at that time in the '60s and the '70s, I mean, everybody was forming a group trying to sing something.
Yeah.
And we all knew each other. Like you mentioned earlier, Ronnie Word. I remember Ronnie when he was in the group he was in, and they used to sing, and they were good. They were good, and Ronnie was good. Because I remember a lot of times we'd be down there, we'd follow them, or we'd just watch them,
Yeah.
and they were good. And we would all watch each other, and there wasn't any animosity,
Mm-hmm.
towards another rival group, because you wanted them to do well, too. We were all kind of pulling for each other, somebody make it, So there was a lot of talent, and not just males. There was females, too, that were good,
Yeah.
that was talented. Shalou Wanzer. I'm sure a lot of people are familiar with her. And we had a female that sang with us for a minute. Her name was Donna Jackson. And it just was a lot of talent at that time.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and there still is. I mean, we have a lot of talent around here, and yet it's. Although I'm always not fascinated. What's the right word? Chagrined. When I would go looking for photographs, and by the way, if anybody has, in their memory box, or, if you love, I would love to see them. I'd scan them for you, get a nice scanned copy, and we might share them at the museum or at the library or something like that. But what I find is there's not a lot of media coverage of it reflected in the Enquirer News at the time, and it's hard to come across those photos. And I read the article when Junior Walker passed. He died of cancer, and he was not that old, man. And Bobby Hawley was quoted as saying, I'm paraphrasing, Battle Creek had this icon living here, choosing to live here, and Battle Creek missed it. So it was really kind of, a story that not as many people that should know about it.
Well, that reminds me of something. There's an old saying that a person not really appreciated in their hometown.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people look at it, oh, that's just Junior Walker. I used to go down to the corner to see him play. This man was a Motown star. And not very many people were aware of it. A lot of people were, but they really didn't give him his due.
Yeah.
Nor the members of his band. But he deserved much more recognition than what he got.
Yeah. Well, and he is extremely respected among some of the, more renowned saxophone players of our day.
Oh, yes.
The late Clarence Clemons, who played with the E Street Band. I won't try to quote him, but effectively what he says is he didn't get down. He didn't mess around. He got down to business, and it was hard and was strong. He also did a sax solo on a Foreigner album. So kind of crossing genres there. A lot of respect throughout the country. I mean, it's not the sound you think of when you think of Motown.
Yeah.
It's more, what do they call that? Gut something? I don't know.
We talking about Gut Bucket Blues?
That's it. That's him, right?
Gut Bucket Blues?
Yeah, you think?
Well, the thing about Junior, if you heard that sax, you knew it was him. Because nobody could play it like him. Like when you listen to Roadrunner and the saxophone in there, nobody could have played that like that but him. Nobody. I mean, it's guttural. It's so deep. And nobody could have done that way other than Junior Walker.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
So, and that's the thing that really, you mentioned in the past some homegrown talent that came up here. And so, what do you do when you grow up in a place? You break you break in and you play and you learn and then you go out to. But these are folks that came here.
Oh yeah, Al Green, before he hit the big time, he used to come to the El Grotto.
Yeah, I'm gonna add this back up because I have him in here too. I think not there. There he is.
Yeah, Al Green came to the El Grotto many occasions. Some occasions we opened up for him. So before he hit it big, he was a regular at the El Grotto.
Yeah.
And then if you look at Earth, Wind, and Fire, with Maurice White.
Yeah.
And one of the local legends here, helped form that band. Which a lot of people I'm sure in Battle Creek don't know.
Right. Yeah.
But there is a rich musical history in Battle Creek.
Yeah.
That's really, it gets overlooked.
Yeah. So you talk on it a little bit, but what was it like? What was the feel when you went into those places? Was it exciting? Was it crowded?
It was exciting. It really was. It was exciting. Initially you might be a little nervous, but it went away real quick. Because once you stepped up on that stage and got in front of that microphone, all that left, and it was just excitement, and you were just thrilled to be there, to do what you wanted to do, and then to have people appreciate it and like it. That was just a bonus. And at that time, I think, we were like 18-year-old kids. I think we might have got maybe 25, maybe $30, but that was fine. Sure. We weren't there for the money. That was just a little extra, but we would have done it for free.
Yeah, what was a gallon of gas in 1969?
Oh, man, what, 32 cents maybe?
Yeah, something like that.
Something like that.
So, that just must have been really exciting. And you did get an audition somewhere, didn't you? Didn't you
Well,
tell me
we sang around not only just here in Battle Creek, but we went to other cities in Western Michigan. We went to we did some things in Kalamazoo, Muskegon, in that area. We went up to Grand Rapids, I think maybe once or twice, and word had gotten around to this smaller record companies in Detroit, and there was little whispers about, well, you know, who are these guys? You know, the Topics. You know, they were, little interest was being sparked, and so we, you know, we didn't want to get overly excited about it. So guy kind of listened to us, and you know, yeah, well, okay, fine, yeah, all right, we'll be in touch. So you know, okay, guy's blowing us off, fine. So time went on. You know, I graduated, went on to Western Michigan University. A couple other guys went into the military. Another guy moved out west. So we were just scattered to the four winds.
Yeah.
And my mother called me one day and said, you know, some guy was here looking for you. I said, oh yeah? I said, yeah, something about an audition or something you guys did, and was wondering where you guys were. I said, what? I said, really? She said, yeah. I said, well, the guys are all scattered everywhere now. I don't even know where some of them are.
Yeah.
You know. But I mean, but hey, that could have been. Could have been.
Never know.
Never know. Never know. But like I said, it was fun.
Yeah.
It was a fun time.
Yeah. So yeah, again, I'll just say this. You know, if anybody has anything to share, you think ought to be a part of the history. You know, it's part of what I do here at the library. That's kind of why I do these interviews, because people are making history every day. They just don't know it yet.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, keep us in mind. And this was a book that a former colleague of mine, employee of mine, Sonia Bernard Hollins, wrote, Here I Stand. And it does a really fine job of
Yes,
sort
it
of
does.
capturing not just that history, that fertile ground that I mentioned, you know, that kind of gave rise to this, but also the influences coming up through the century. And she does a really nice job. Right now, we don't have any of these in circulation, but that's changing because I just ordered 8 copies. And so I'm going to put this one back in circulation. And so you'll be able to get it here at the library in Willard or out at the Helen Warner branch pretty soon. So I'm looking forward to that. So speaking of books, The Healing Garden. This is really, James, this is a really touching story. I mean, this idea, and I described it as a redemption of a relationship. But why don't you talk a little bit about how this story came to you?
Well, the concept was inspired by real people. It's not based on real people,
Sure.
but it was inspired by real people. And I thought about it, and I thought, man, that would make a good story. So I decided to write it. And it basically deals with a young man who, for the first 12 years of his life, he's been with his mother. Now, as he's approaching young manhood, his mother realizes that she can't teach him how to be a man. He needs his father. So after she has been broken up from his father for 12 years, she decides she needs to get in touch with him and explain the situation and ask him to take over now, because she can't teach him how to be a man. Only he can do that.
Yeah.
So he is glad to do that because he's never lost love for his son. He just couldn't deal with his son's mother for various reasons. So they both agree that that's what should happen.
What happened? What did the father say when she approached him?
Well,
Initially
he said, well, what's wrong? Because he knew after 12 years and you call him, something's wrong.
Yeah. Well, what I thought was so kind of refreshing, really, but it almost sounds too good to be true, but it's really not, because I know people like that too.
Yeah.
You know, the mom approached, you know, his father, and they really came together for the best interest of
for
Jamal, the central character.
Exactly.
and he kind of put him to work too.
Yeah, he's a city boy,
Yeah.
so he wasn't used to gardening of any sort. So initially there was friction,
Sure.
not just because of the gardening, but they were strangers to each other. So they had some bumps in the road, as you would expect,
Yeah.
and they had to get to know each other. So
Yeah.
the book deals with them going through that process and how, they came about overcoming that and strengthen their relationship after all those years.
Yeah. He didn't warm to the gardening right away.
No, he did not.
But there's a real, well, I think you call the chapter breakthrough.
Mhm.
And not to give too much away, but Jamal's father had a health scare,
Yes.
and Jamal was able to step up in a way that kind of made him realize what was in him.
Right.
I would say.
Because he didn't know
Yeah.
that was in him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's a really good story. And the other thing that was really, I think, refreshing about it was that it's not often that. Well, I shouldn't say that. I think we're all in danger sometimes of making assumptions. I was about to say that if there aren't that many wives of men with families, they have a family together, that would easily accept a child from another family into their family, and really he was embraced by
Yeah. Yeah.
the whole family.
I think
and they
basic-
embraced him.
I think basically, I don't think that's that far out of the norm.
Yeah.
And the reason I say that is, I think women basically they're nurturers by heart, and so I think it's easy for them to accept and embrace a child that may not be theirs. So I don't think it's that hard for them to do, especially if the child is mannerable and respectful,
Which Jamal was.
which he was.
Yeah. I mean, he was a kid. And
Yeah.
He had his.
Sure, because he's still a kid.
I thought it was
Yeah.
funny when he made the joke about the hoe and how
Oh.
his father didn't really appreciate that much.
Right.
You're not hanging with your dogs. here.
Right. You ain't on the corner with your dogs.
Yeah. So, yeah, it was really great. James has been contributing, like you say, nine books, and that includes the books of poetry, right?
Yes.
Yeah. But also over the years and contributed to the Inquirer regularly.
Yeah.
And then did some other things up in Grand Rapids, I think.
Yeah, I wrote for the Grand Rapids Times.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So,
And currently I'm writing for a blog in Atlanta.
oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And what's that? What's that about?
It's the blog is called Retired and Loving It. It's a blog that my cousin is doing.
Yeah.
So I sent her a column I had written, because I'm still writing, and I send them out to different people and organizations and what have you.
Sure.
And I sent her one, and she said, "You know what? Can I put this on my blog?" And I said, "Sure." So I've been sending her columns regularly, and she posts them on her blog. And it's called Retired and Loving It.
Yeah.
Yeah. So she posts them on the blog, and I get comments. Favorable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you are, and I'm getting close to that, third stage of life, or third age, or whatever they call that.
Mhm.
I mean, retirement isn't quitting or whatever.
No, it's just a different phase.
You're still creating. And I might have asked you this, but I think, but I remember specifically Nicole Bruenkohl, who I had on. She's Hans Stark's daughter, and who owns the tile and carpet place and does a lot of rehab. And she did a children's book. And my point was that a lot of people dream all their lives about becoming published, right? But they just never do it.
Right.
And then there are folks like you where you just make your own way. You make your path and you publish and you put your work out there. What does that mean to you?
It's very fulfilling. Because initially when I began writing books back in 2006, I got told no. And I got tired of being told no, and I decided, well, I'll just do it myself. And that's the attitude that I took. You know, like James Brown said, I don't want nobody to give me nothing. I open up the door, I get it myself. So that's what I decided to do. And I've been doing that ever since.
Uh-huh.
And now that I've somewhat established, different people are coming at me to want me to get on board with them to promote my book or what have you. But there's a catch to it. See, they want too much control. And see, in being self-published, I'm the one in control.
Yeah.
I get to determine the content. So I don't need that. I don't need that. And also, the point about Junior Walker not receiving his due from his hometown, I've experienced that myself. That's why I can relate to that.
Yeah.
Because I've had that happen. One of my books I sent out to my alma mater, Western Michigan University, and I sent one to Stanford University and various other universities. And I never heard back from Western. But Stanford, they purchased 200 copies
Wow.
of my first book for their literature department.
Wow.
And I've also sent some things to KCC on each of my books. I haven't heard from anybody from KCC. But I say all of that to say this. You're never really appreciated in your hometown. I don't know why. Yeah, I kind of do know why, but you know, you have to go outside for
sometimes,
people to appreciate sometimes, you know. And I just sent a copy of my latest book, The Healing Garden, to Stanford to see what they think about that for their humanities or their English Lit department. So I'm waiting to see if they see the promise in that one like they saw the first one.
Cool. Well, that's great. And I hope they do.
Yeah, I do too.
One more question. What's your process? Do you write every day? How do you come up with ideas? Where is it something you're always working on, or do you just wait for inspiration?
I write as I'm motivated to write. Now, what really gives me a lot of material is the current political situation in the country today.
Mm-hmm.
That gives me more material than what I can keep up with.
It's a little overwhelming.
Yeah, it really is. And that's what motivates me. Current events, or I'll see something or hear something that stimulates something in me. And so initially, I have to break out my computer and I start to write. Because that's what I did when I was in the Navy. I wrote a lot of poetry because that was a way for me to cope with some of the racism and discriminatory practices that were going on at the time.
Yeah.
Rather than do something stupid and get put in jail or, the brig or what have you, which I know that did happen to me a couple of times. But that's another story. But but the pen and paper has always been my escapism.
Yeah. Or a channel, really. I mean.
Or a channel.
Channel
Exactly.
that anger, that frustration.
Yes.
Or, take it to a different place.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, James, thank you for coming. This was a lot of fun. The Healing Garden, we will have it at the library. And I don't know why my technology is just failing
The green
tonight.
screen behind you.
Well, yeah, but I've done this before. Anyway, we'll get it in the library, and you can get it on Amazon as well. So, James, thanks for coming on.
Well, thank you for having me.
Anytime.
All right.
You take care, and we'll see you all soon. In a couple of weeks, I think, on Stories at Sundown. And maybe the technology will be better and I won't be lagging like I am right now. Have a good night.